When Raymond Torres sat in that parking garage with shaking hands, holding a hospital bill for $85,000, he knew he was about to do something he'd never done in his entire life. After 7 years of driving Michael Jordan without ever asking for a single favor, he was about to break his own rule. His 19-year-old daughter Sophia was dying inside. She couldn't walk anymore. She couldn't dance anymore. The doctors said there was a surgeon who could help her, but the family didn't have enough money. Raymond had worked 3 jobs his whole life. He had always been proud. He never asked anyone for help. But this time was different. This time, it was about his little girl's future. So when Michael Jordan walked out of that building, Raymond stepped out of the car and said the hardest words he'd ever spoken. "Mr. Jordan, I need to ask you something. It's about my daughter." Michael stopped and turned around. "What's going on, Ray?" Raymond's voice cracked as he explained everything. The pain Sophia was in, the surgery she needed, the money they didn't have. "I need $85,000, sir. I'll pay you back every cent. I just need my daughter to walk again." Michael pulled out his phone and started typing something. His face was serious. Raymond's heart sank. Was he about to be fired for asking such a big favor? Was Michael texting his lawyer? Then Michael looked up and said 5 words that changed everything. "Get in the car, Ray." But what Michael Jordan did next? Nobody could have predicted it. Not Raymond, not his wife Clara, not even Sophia herself. Because what started as a desperate father asking for help turned into something so much bigger. Something that would make a grown man cry tears of joy. Something that would change not just one family, but hundreds of families for years to come. What did Michael Jordan do that left Raymond sobbing in his arms? What was the response that was so powerful, so unexpected, that it would restore a father's hope and give a young dancer her dreams back? Stay with us for this incredible true story, because what happens next will remind you that miracles are real, and sometimes they come in the form of people who choose kindness when they could choose anything else. Raymond Torres had been sitting in the parking garage for 20 minutes and his hand still wouldn't stop shaking. The crumpled hospital bill in his lap felt like it weighed 1,000 pounds. He had read it so many times that he could recite every number, every line, every crushing word. Total amount. Due $85,000. Payment required. Within 30 days. 30 days. Sophia had 30 days before the surgery window closed forever. Raymond was 52 years old. He had worked since he was 13, starting with a paper route in his small Texas hometown. He had never asked anyone for help. Not when his mother got sick. Not when he and Clara struggled to make rent in their first apartment. Not even when Sophia was born premature and spent 3 weeks in the NICU with medical bills that took them 5 years to pay off. Pride wasn't just a feeling for Raymond Torres, it was a survival tool. It was armor. And it was the thing that kept a man's back straight when the world tried to bend him in half. But today, he was going to break his own rule. Today, he was going to ask Michael Jordan for money. The elevator dinged. Raymond's heart jumped into his throat. He watched through the SUV's tinted windows as Michael emerged from the building, phone pressed to his ear, briefcase in hand. Even at 63, Michael moved with that same smooth confidence Raymond had watched on television as a kid. Every step had purpose. Raymond's hand reached for the door handle, then stopped. His pulse hammered in his ears. "What are you doing? You can't ask this man for money. He's Michael Jordan. He's not your friend. He's your boss." But then Raymond thought about Sophia. He thought about the way she had looked at him last night. Tears streaming down her beautiful face, her voice barely a whisper. "Dad, I can't feel my left foot anymore. It's getting worse." The door opened before Raymond realized he was moving. "Mr. Jordan." His voice came out rough like sandpaper. "Sir, I need to ask you something." Michael stopped mid-stride. He lowered his phone and turned, eyebrows raised slightly. In 7 years of working together, Raymond had never approached him like this. Never interrupted. Never asked for anything beyond clarification on the day's schedule. "What's going on, Ray?" Raymond's throat felt like it was closing. The words he had practiced all morning suddenly scattered like dust. He looked down at the hospital bill in his hand, then back up at Michael. "It's about my daughter, Sophia. She's sick, Mr. Jordan. Real sick." Michael's expression shifted. The business mask dropped slightly. "What happened?" "6 months ago, she started getting these pains in her back. We thought it was from dancing. She dances, or she used to dance." Raymond's voice cracked. He hated how weak he sounded, but he couldn't stop now. "The doctors ran tests. They found something wrong with her spine. It's rare. They said there's a surgeon in Philadelphia who can fix it, but he doesn't take insurance, and we don't have enough money, and—" "Ray!" Michael's voice was gentle but firm. "Slow down. How much do you need?" The question hit Raymond like a physical blow. He had expected to have to explain more, to beg, to convince. He hadn't expected Michael to just ask. $85,000. The number felt obscene in his mouth. "I know that's a lot. I've been saving everything I can. I work Uber on the weekends. Clara works 2 jobs. We've got $12,000 saved, but it's not enough, and Sophia's window is closing. The doctor said if we don't do the surgery within 3 months, the damage might be permanent, and we're already at month 6, and I just—" He stopped himself. He was rambling, begging, everything he swore he wouldn't do. "I'm sorry, Mr. Jordan. I didn't want to put you in this position. I've never asked anyone for anything in my life, but I don't know where else to turn. I was wondering if maybe you could loan me the money. I'll pay you back. Every cent, with interest. I'll work extra hours. I'll do whatever it takes. I just need my little girl to walk again. I need her to dance again." Michael pulled out his phone. His thumb moved across the screen. Raymond watched, his heart sinking with each second of silence. This was it. Michael was probably texting his lawyer or his assistant about how to handle this uncomfortable situation professionally. Finally, Michael looked up. His face was unreadable. "How much time before the surgery window closes?" 6 weeks, sir." Michael nodded slowly. He tapped something else on his phone, then slipped it back into his pocket. "Get in the car, Ray. Drive me home." Raymond's stomach dropped. "Mr. Jordan, We'll talk about this on the way. Get in the car." Raymond climbed into the driver's seat on autopilot, his mind racing. Was that good? Bad? Was Michael angry? Disappointed? Was he about to be fired for asking such an inappropriate favor? He started the engine with trembling hands and pulled out of the parking garage into the Charlotte afternoon traffic. In the rearview mirror, he could see Michael staring out the window, his jaw tight, his expression impossible to read. Neither of them spoke for the first 5 minutes. Raymond's mind spun with worst-case scenarios. Maybe Michael was trying to figure out how to let him down easy. Maybe he was calculating how to replace his driver without disrupting his schedule. Maybe he was angry that Raymond had violated the invisible boundary between employee and employer. Finally, Michael's voice cut through the silence. "Tell me about Sophia." Raymond glanced in the rearview mirror, confused. "Sir?" "Your daughter. Tell me about her." And so Raymond did. He told Michael about the little girl who started dancing at age 4 after watching a ballet on television. About how she practiced in their living room until she wore holes in the carpet. About the scholarship she had earned to UNC's Performing Arts program. About the community center where she volunteered every Saturday, teaching dance to kids who couldn't afford lessons. About the night 2 months ago when she collapsed during rehearsal and couldn't get back up. About the look in her eyes when the doctor explained that without surgery she might never walk normally again. She's 19 years old, Mr. Jordan. Her whole life is ahead of her. And I'm watching her dreams die because I can't afford to save them. Raymond's voice broke on the last word. He wiped his eyes quickly, embarrassed. In the mirror, he saw Michael lean forward slightly. "You're a good father, Ray." The words were simple, but they hit Raymond in the chest like a hammer. He blinked hard against the tears threatening to spill over. "I'm a desperate father, sir. I never wanted to ask anyone for anything, but when it's your child... But you love your daughter more than your pride, Michael finished quietly. I understand that better than you know. Raymond pulled into Michael's long driveway. The mansion rose before them, all glass and stone and perfect landscaping. A house that probably cost more than Raymond would make in 10 lifetimes. He put the car in park and waited for Michael to exit, but Michael didn't move. Ray, I need you to do something for me. Anything, sir. Tomorrow morning, 8 a.m., meet me at my office. Bring all of Sophia's medical records, the surgeon's information, bills, everything related to her case. Raymond's heart leaped into his throat. Was this hope? Was Michael actually considering helping? Yeah, does that mean... Michael opened the door and stepped out. He paused, looking back at Raymond through the open door. 8 a.m., don't be late. Then he closed the door and walked toward his house without looking back. Raymond sat in the driveway, alone, staring at the steering wheel. His hands were still shaking, but for a different reason now. He had asked for help, and Michael Jordan hadn't said no. Not yet, anyway. Raymond drove home in a daze, his mind replaying every word of the conversation. 8 a.m. Bring everything. What did that mean? Was Michael going to help? Or was he just being thorough before saying no? The modest two-bedroom house on Elm Street looked smaller than usual when Raymond pulled into the driveway. The porch light was on. Clara always left it on for him, and he could see the flicker of the television through the living room curtains. He sat in the car for a moment, trying to compose himself. Clara would ask questions the moment he walked through the door, and he didn't have answers yet. Just hope. Fragile, terrifying hope. The front door opened before he reached it. Clara stood there in her nurse's scrubs, still wearing her work shoes even though her shift had ended 3 hours ago. She had probably been pacing, waiting. Well? Her dark eyes searched his face desperately. Raymond stepped inside and closed the door. He wants to meet tomorrow. 8 a.m.? He told me to bring all of Sophia's medical records. Clara's hand flew to her mouth. Oh my God, Raymond, do you think... I don't know. He set his keys on the small table by the door. The same table they'd owned since their wedding 28 years ago. He didn't say yes, but he didn't say no either. What exactly did he say? Raymond recounted the conversation word for word. Clara listened intently, her fingers twisting the hem of her scrub top, the way she always did when she was nervous. Maybe he wants to verify everything before lending the money, she said finally. Rich people are careful with their money. They have to be. Maybe. Raymond collapsed onto the worn sofa. Or maybe he's just being kind, letting me down easy. Giving me the runaround instead of saying no to my face. Raymond Torres, don't you dare give up before you even try. Clara sat beside him and took his hand. Her palm was warm, steady. After 28 years, her touch still had the power to calm his racing heart. Mike, you did the hardest part. You asked. Now we wait and see what happens. Raymond squeezed her hand. I've never felt so small in my life, Clara. Standing there asking another man for money. Begging. You weren't begging, you were being a father. She leaned her head on his shoulder. There's no shame in that. They sat in silence for a moment, the television murmuring in the background. Then Raymond heard it, a soft cry from down the hallway. Sophia's room. He was on his feet instantly. She's been having a hard night, Clara whispered. The pain is worse. I gave her the medication an hour ago, but it's not helping much anymore. Raymond walked down the narrow hallway, his heart breaking with each step. He knocked gently on Sophia's door. Mija? You awake? Come in, Dad. He opened the door to find his daughter propped up on pillows, and a book open on her lap. She wasn't reading it, though. She was just staring at the pages, her face tight with pain. The lamp on her nightstand cast shadows across her face, making her look older than 19, making her look tired. Can't sleep? Raymond asked, though he already knew the answer. Lying down makes it worse. Sophia tried to smile, but it came out as more of a grimace. The pressure on my spine. Sitting up helps a little. Raymond sat carefully on the edge of her bed, the same bed she'd slept in since she was 7 years old. The walls were still covered with dance posters, Misty Copeland mid-leap, Alvin Ailey dancers frozen in perfect motion. Dreams captured in photographs. Dad, why are you looking at me like that? Like what? Like you're about to tell me something. What happened today? Raymond had never been able to hide anything from his daughter. She read him like one of her books. He took a deep breath. I did something today, Mika. Something I probably should have asked your permission for first. Sophia's eyes widened. What did you do? I asked Mr. Jordan for help, for a loan to cover your surgery. The color drained from Sophia's face. Dad, no, we talked about this. I told you I don't want you begging anyone. I wasn't begging, Raymond interrupted, hearing Clara's words echo in his own voice. I was asking, there's a difference. You shouldn't have done that. Sophia's eyes filled with tears. What if he says no? What if he fires you? Dad, we need your job. We need the insurance, even if it doesn't cover everything. We need... Sophia, listen to me. Raymond took both her hands in his. They felt so small, so fragile. When had his little girl's hands become so thin? Tomorrow morning, I'm meeting with Mr. Jordan. I don't know what he's going to say. Maybe he'll help. Maybe he won't. But I had to try. You understand that, right? I had to try. A tear rolled down Sophia's cheek. I don't want to be the reason you lose your dignity. You could never be that reason. Raymond wiped the tear away with his thumb. You're the reason I found my courage. There's a difference between dignity and pride, Mika. Pride says never ask for help. Dignity says do whatever it takes to protect the people you love. Sophia leaned forward and wrapped her arms around her father's neck. Raymond held her carefully, aware of every point of pain in her damaged spine. She used to hug him so hard it made his ribs ache. Now she felt as delicate as glass. I'm scared, Dad, she whispered into his shoulder. Me too, baby, me too. They stayed like that for a long moment. Then Sophia pulled back and looked at him seriously. Promise me something. Anything. Promise me that whatever Mr. Jordan says tomorrow, you won't feel bad about yourself. You're the best father anyone could ask for. You've given me everything. You've worked so hard for me and Mom. If he says no, it doesn't mean we're not worth it. It just means... It means we have to find another way. Raymond's throat tightened. How did he raise such an incredible daughter? How did this brave, beautiful, selfless young woman come from his ordinary life? I promise, he managed to say. But Sophia, you promised me something too. What? Don't give up. No matter what happens tomorrow, don't give up on dancing. Don't give up on your dreams. We'll find a way. Even if it takes longer than we want, we'll find a way. Sophia nodded, but Raymond could see the doubt in her eyes. 6 weeks? They had 6 weeks before the surgery window closed. After that, the specialist said the nerve damage would likely be permanent. After that, Sophia's chances of ever dancing again would drop from possible to nearly impossible. Try to get some rest, Raymond said, kissing her forehead. I love you, Mika. I love you too, Dad. Raymond turned off the lamp and closed the door softly behind him. In the hallway, he leaned against the wall and closed his eyes. His entire body felt heavy with exhaustion and fear and desperate hope. Back in the living room, Clara had gathered all of Sophia's medical documents into a folder. Hospital bills, doctor's notes, test results, the specialist's contact information in Philadelphia. A paper trail of their daughter's suffering. It's all here, Clara said, handing him the folder. Everything he might need to see. Raymond took the folder and set it carefully on the coffee table. What if he says no, Clara? Then we figure out plan B. What's plan B? Clara sat down and pulled him beside her. I don't know yet. Maybe we sell the house. Maybe we take out a second mortgage. Maybe we start a fundraiser. We've already looked into all of that, Raymond said quietly. The house is barely worth more than we owe. No bank will give us a second mortgage with our income. And those medical fundraiser websites, we'd be lucky to raise $5,000. Then maybe we ask the specialist if he'll take payments. Clara. Raymond turned to face his wife. I need you to be realistic with me right now. If Mr. Jordan says no, we don't have enough time. Even if we somehow scrape together the money over the next year, Sophia's window will be closed. The damage will be permanent. Tears streamed down Clara's face. So what are you saying? That we should just give up? No, I'm saying that tomorrow morning might be Sophia's only real chance. And I'm terrified that I'm going to walk into that office and Michael Jordan is going to look at me with pity and say he can't help. And then I'm going to have to come home and tell our daughter that I failed her. Clara grabbed his face with both hands. Raymond Torres, you listen to me. You have never failed Sophia, not once in 19 years. You've worked yourself to the bone for that girl. You've sacrificed everything. If Mr. Jordan says no, it's not because you failed. It's just because sometimes life is hard and unfair and we don't get what we deserve. Raymond pulled his wife close and let himself cry. He cried for his daughter's pain. He cried for his own helplessness. He cried for all the years of hard work that still weren't enough to save his child. And he cried because tomorrow morning he would walk into Michael Jordan's office and place his daughter's future in the hands of a man he barely knew. At 3:47 a.m., Raymond gave up trying to sleep. He got out of bed carefully, trying not to wake Clara, and walked to the kitchen. Through the window, he could see the first hints of dawn touching the Charlotte skyline. In 7 hours, he would know Sophia's fate. In 7 hours, he would either have hope or he would have nothing. Raymond made coffee and sat at the small kitchen table, the medical folder open in front of him. He read through every page again, memorizing details he already knew by heart. Sophia's diagnosis, the specialist's recommendation, the cost breakdown, the deadline, 6 weeks, 42 days, 1,008 hours. Time was running out, and Raymond Torres had never felt more powerless in his entire life. Raymond arrived at Jordan's office building at 7:45 a.m. 15 minutes early, just like he always was. The morning sun painted the glass tower in shades of gold, and the Charlotte streets were already filling with Monday morning traffic. He sat in the parking garage, clutching the medical folder against his chest like a shield. His best suit, the one he wore to weddings and funerals, felt too tight around his shoulders. Or maybe that was just the anxiety squeezing the air from his lungs. At 7:55, he took the elevator to the executive floor. His reflection in the polished doors showed a man who looked much older than 52. When had those lines appeared around his eyes? When had his hair gotten so gray at the temples? Michael's assistant, Jennifer, greeted him with a warm smile. "Good morning, Mr. Torres. Mr. Jordan is expecting you. Conference room B." Raymond's shoes clicked too loudly on the marble floor as he walked. Conference room B was at the end of a long hallway lined with photographs. Michael in his Bulls uniform, Michael with his championship trophies, Michael shaking hands with presidents and celebrities. Like a hallway of greatness that made Raymond feel impossibly small. He reached for the door handle, took one deep breath, and pushed it open. Michael Jordan sat at the head of a long mahogany table. But he wasn't alone. 2 other people were in the room. A woman in a sharp gray business suit typing on a laptop, and a man in his 60s wearing a white doctor's coat over khaki pants. Raymond froze in the doorway. "Ray, come in." Michael gestured to a chair. "Close the door behind you." Raymond did as he was told, his heart hammering. Why were there other people here? Was this some kind of intervention? An HR meeting before he got fired? "Ray, this is Patricia Chen, my financial advisor." Michael nodded to the woman, who gave Raymond a professional smile. "And this is Dr. Marcus Webb. He's an orthopedic specialist and a colleague of mine." A doctor? Michael had brought a doctor to this meeting? "Mr. Torres." Dr. Webb stood and extended his hand. "It's nice to meet you. Please have a seat." Raymond shook the doctor's hand and sat down slowly, placing the medical folder on the table in front of him. His hands were trembling again. "You brought Sophia's records?" Michael asked. "Yes, sir, everything. Medical history, test results, the surgeon's information, all the bills." Raymond pushed the folder across the table. "It's all there." Dr. Webb pulled the folder toward him and began reviewing the contents. Patricia continued typing on her laptop. Michael watched Raymond with an expression that gave nothing away. The silence stretched out for what felt like hours, but was probably only minutes. Raymond could hear every sound in the room. The rustle of papers as Dr. Webb flipped through documents, the soft click of Patricia's keyboard, the hum of the air conditioning, his own pulse pounding in his ears. Finally, Michael leaned forward. "Tell me about Sophia." Raymond blinked. "I'm sorry, what?" "Tell me about your daughter, not her medical condition. Tell me about her as a person." This wasn't what Raymond had expected. He had prepared himself to explain medical details, to justify the cost, to make his case for why he deserved help. He hadn't prepared to talk about who Sophia was. "She's..." Raymond's voice caught. He cleared his throat and tried again. "She's the best person I know, Mr. Jordan. She started dancing when she was 4 years old, saw a ballet on TV and told us that's what she wanted to do with her life. We didn't have money for fancy lessons, but she didn't care. She practiced in our living room, wore holes in the carpet." A small smile touched Raymond's lips despite his nervousness. "By the time she was 12, she was choreographing her own routines, teaching herself from YouTube videos and library books. When she was 16, she won a scholarship to a summer intensive program. Full ride. They said she was one of the most talented students they'd ever seen." "She sounds driven," Patricia said, looking up from her laptop. "She is, but it's more than that." Raymond looked down at his hands. "Every Saturday for the past 3 years, Sophia has volunteered at the East Side Community Center. She teaches dance to kids who can't afford lessons. Kids from the neighborhoods where dance classes cost more than their parents make in a week. She does it for free. Says everyone deserves a chance to find their passion." Dr. Webb looked up from the medical files, his expression softening. "Last year," Raymond continued, "one of her students, a little girl named Maya, told Sophia she wanted to quit because her family was being evicted, and she couldn't focus on dancing. You know what Sophia did? She organized a fundraiser, got the whole community center involved. They raised enough money to help Maya's family with rent for 3 months. That's who my daughter is." Raymond's voice broke. "She thinks about everyone but herself. When she got diagnosed, the first thing she said to me was, 'Dad, don't spend money we don't have on me. I'll be okay.' Can you imagine? A 19-year-old girl being told she might never walk properly again, and she's worried about our finances." "She reminds me of my mother," Raymond said quietly. "My mom raised 4 kids on a waitress salary. Never complained, never gave up. Always put us first. Sophia has that same spirit, that same strength." The room was quiet. Dr. Webb set down the papers and removed his reading glasses. "Mr. Torres," the doctor said gently, "I've reviewed your daughter's medical records. The diagnosis is correct. She has a rare spinal condition called progressive degenerative stenosis. The surgeon in Philadelphia, Dr. Harrison, is indeed excellent. I've heard good things about his work." Raymond held his breath. "However," Dr. Webb continued, "I want you to know that there's actually a specialist in Baltimore who has even better success rates with this specific condition. His name is Dr. Richard Okonkwo. He's at Johns Hopkins Hospital. I've worked with him personally on several cases. He's the best in the country for this type of surgery." Raymond's head spun. The doctors here never mentioned anyone in Baltimore. They only recommended Dr. Harrison in Philadelphia." "Dr. Okonkwo is very selective about his cases," Dr. Webb explained. "He only takes patients with the highest likelihood of successful recovery. But I reviewed Sophia's scans and test results, and she's an excellent candidate. Her age, her physical fitness from dancing, her overall health all of it works in her favor. Are you saying... Raymond couldn't finish the sentence. Hope was flooding through him so fast it hurt. Dr. Webb smiled. I called Dr. Okonkwo this morning at 6 a.m. Sent him Sophia's files. He's willing to see her next week for a consultation. If everything checks out in person, he can schedule her surgery within 3 weeks. 3 weeks? That was well within the 6-week window. Raymond felt tears prick his eyes. Patricia spoke up, her voice crisp and professional. Mr. Torres, I've calculated all the associated costs for Sophia's treatment. The surgery itself, hospital stay, preoperative testing, post-operative care, physical therapy, medications, travel expenses for you and your wife, and estimated lost wages during her recovery period. She turned her laptop screen toward him. Raymond saw a spreadsheet filled with numbers and line items. The total cost comes to approximately $127,000. The number hit Raymond like a truck. $127,000. That was $42,000 more than he'd thought. $42,000 more than the impossible $85,000 he'd asked for. His hope shattered as quickly as it had formed. There was no way, no possible way. Even if Michael agreed to loan him the original amount, it wouldn't be enough. Sophia would still be $42,000 short of the treatment she needed. I didn't know it would be that much, Raymond whispered. The Philadelphia doctor quoted $85,000. I thought that was all we needed. Philadelphia would have been cheaper, Dr. Webb said, but Baltimore offers a significantly better chance of full recovery. Dr. Okonkwo's success rate for this procedure is 94%. Dr. Harrison's is 78%. Raymond did the math in his head. A 16% better chance of Sophia walking again. Make a 16% better chance of her dancing again. That was everything. But it might as well have been 1,000,000% better. He couldn't afford either one. I understand, Raymond said, his voice hollow. He started to stand up. Thank you for your time, Mr. Jordan. Thank you, Dr. Webb, Miss Chen. I appreciate you looking into this, but I don't have... Sit down, Ray. Michael's voice wasn't harsh, but it was firm. Raymond slowly lowered himself back into the chair. Michael stood up and walked to the window overlooking Charlotte. His back was to the room. Raymond stared at his boss's silhouette, trying to read meaning into the set of his shoulders, the tilt of his head. You've driven me for 7 years, Ray, Michael said, still facing the window. You know what I appreciate most about you? Raymond had no idea how to answer that. Sir? Michael turned around. You never once asked me for an autograph to sell on eBay. Never leaked stories to the press about where I was going or who I was meeting with. Never treated me like I was anything other than a person who needed to get from point A to point B safely and on time. He walked back to the table and sat down. You're professional, you're reliable. You're invisible when you need to be and present when I need you. Do you know how rare that is? How valuable? I was just doing my job, Mr. Jordan. Exactly. Just doing your job. No drama, no agenda, no asking for favors. Michael leaned back in his chair. Until yesterday. 7 years, and you never asked me for a single thing. Then yesterday, you asked me for $85,000. Raymond's face burned with shame. I'm sorry, sir. I was desperate. I shouldn't have... Let me finish. Michael held up a hand. When you asked me for that money, do you know what I thought? Raymond shook his head. I thought, finally, this man is showing me who he really is. Not just a good employee. A good father. A man who loves his daughter more than he loves his pride. Michael leaned forward, his eyes locked on Raymond's. So here's what's going to happen, Ray. This was it. This was the moment. Raymond's entire body tensed. I'm not giving you a loan. The words landed like a physical blow. Raymond felt the air leave his lungs. Of course Michael wasn't going to help. Why would he? Raymond was just a driver, just an employee, just someone who... I'm not giving you a loan, Michael repeated, because you're not going to pay me back. Wait, what? Raymond stared at Michael, unable to process the words. The room seemed to tilt sideways. Patricia smiled. Dr. Webb nodded, and Michael Jordan looked Raymond Torres straight in the eye and said the words that would change everything. I'm covering all of Sophia's medical expenses, Michael said clearly. The surgery, the hospital stay, the rehabilitation, the medications, travel costs, everything. And I'm doing it as a gift, not a loan. No repayment, no interest, no strings attached. Raymond's mouth opened, but no sound came out. The words didn't make sense. They were in English, but his brain couldn't arrange them into anything meaningful. Mr. Jordan, I can't. You can, and you will. Michael's voice was firm but kind. Patricia has already set up a medical fund in Sophia's name. Dr. Webb has coordinated with Johns Hopkins Hospital. Everything is arranged. Patricia turned her laptop toward Raymond again. The fund is active as of this morning. All medical bills will be sent directly to my office. You won't see a single invoice. Your job is to focus on Sophia's recovery, not paperwork. Raymond looked from Patricia to Dr. Webb to Michael. This couldn't be real. Things like this didn't happen to people like him. Miracles were for other families, luckier families, families who deserved them. But there's more, Michael continued. More? What more could there possibly be? I'm also setting up a separate fund to cover your family's living expenses for the next 6 months. Mortgage, utilities, groceries, car payments, everything. I don't want you or Clara worrying about money while Sophia recovers. I want you both with her, supporting her, and without the stress of financial pressure. A sound escaped Raymond's throat, half laugh, half sob. He pressed his hand to his mouth, trying to hold himself together, but it was impossible. Tears streamed down his face. Mr. Jordan, I don't understand. Why would you do this for us? Michael stood and walked around the table until he was standing directly in front of Raymond. He pulled out the chair next to him and sat down. My father's name was James Jordan, Michael said quietly. He worked at an electric plant. My mother, Dolores, worked at a bank. We didn't have much money when I was growing up. My parents worked multiple jobs to make sure my siblings and I had what we needed. Raymond wiped his eyes, listening. When I was young, I wanted to play baseball and basketball and football, every sport I could try. My parents couldn't afford all the equipment, all the fees, all the camps. But they sacrificed. My dad worked overtime. My mom took on extra shifts. They gave up things they needed so I could chase my dreams. Michael's jaw tightened. My father was murdered in 1993. He was 56 years old. I was at the peak of my career with the Bulls. I had all the money in the world, and it couldn't bring him back. It couldn't give me one more conversation with him. It couldn't let me thank him properly for everything he sacrificed. The room was absolutely silent except for the sound of Raymond's quiet crying. When you came to me yesterday, Michael continued, when you told me about Sophia, I saw my father in you. I saw that same love, that same willingness to sacrifice everything for your child, or that same dignity in asking for help when you had no other choice. Michael's voice grew thick with emotion. I can't help my father anymore, Ray, but I can help you. I can make sure Sophia gets the treatment she needs. I can make sure you don't have to choose between your daughter's future and your family's survival. And maybe in some small way, that honors what my parents did for me. Raymond completely broke down. His whole body shook with sobs. He buried his face in his hands, overwhelmed by gratitude and disbelief and pure, raw relief. Dr. Webb quietly pushed a box of tissues across the table. When Raymond finally caught his breath enough to speak, his voice was hoarse. I don't know what to say. I don't know how to thank you. You don't have to thank me, Michael said. You already thanked me by being the kind of father who shows up every single day, by raising a daughter like Sophia, by never giving up on her. Patricia cleared her throat gently. Mr. Torres, there are some papers you'll need to sign. Nothing complicated, Just authorization forms so the hospital can coordinate with us directly. And I'll need Sophia's contact information so Dr. Webb can reach out to schedule her consultation. Raymond nodded numbly. His hands were still shaking as he took the pen Patricia offered. "There's one more thing," Michael said. Raymond looked up, wondering what else could possibly be left to say. "When Sophia recovers, and she will recover, I want to establish a scholarship in her name, a fund specifically for young dancers who are facing medical challenges. Sophia can help administer it when she's ready. Young if she wants to, of course." "A scholarship?" Raymond repeated. "She spent 3 years teaching kids for free," Michael said. "That kind of generosity should be rewarded. This way, she can help even more young people chase their dreams, even when life throws obstacles in their way." Raymond thought about Sophia in her room last night, saying she wanted to spend her life helping others. She would be overwhelmed. She would cry. She would probably try to refuse because she wouldn't think she deserved it. But she did deserve it. She deserved everything. "She'll be honored," Raymond managed to say. "We both are. Mr. Jordan, I've worked for you for 7 years and I always respected you. But today you've shown me something I'll never forget. You've given me back my daughter's future." Michael stood and extended his hand. Raymond stood too, gripping Michael's hand firmly, then pulling him into an embrace. Michael returned the hug without hesitation. "Thank you," Raymond whispered. "Thank you for seeing us, for caring, for helping." "Thank you for reminding me what matters," Michael replied. When they separated, both men had tears in their eyes. Patricia handed Raymond a folder. "Everything you need is in here. Contact information, authorization forms, appointment details. Dr. Webb will call you this afternoon with specifics about Sophia's consultation in Baltimore." "The consultation is scheduled for next Tuesday," Dr. Webb added. "I've already cleared my calendar to accompany you and Sophia to Johns Hopkins. I want to be there to introduce her to Dr. Okonkwo personally and make sure all the preliminary testing goes smoothly." "You're coming with us?" Raymond asked. "Of course, Sophia is my patient now too." Dr. Webb smiled warmly. "Besides, I want to meet this remarkable young woman you've told us about." Raymond clutched the folder to his chest. Inside were papers that represented hope. Papers that represented a future he thought was lost. Papers that meant Sophia would dance again. "Can I tell her?" Raymond asked suddenly. "Can I go home right now and tell Sophia?" Michael laughed, a genuine warm sound. "Ray, take the day off. Go home. Tell your daughter. Tell your wife. Celebrate. You've earned it. But your schedule, you have that meeting at noon. I'll drive myself. Go be with your family." Raymond nodded, unable to speak past the lump in his throat. He shook hands with Patricia, and then Dr. Webb, then Michael one more time. "I won't let you down, Mr. Jordan," Raymond said. "I'll work harder than ever. Ray." Michael placed a hand on his shoulder. "You've never let me down, not once. Now go tell Sophia she has a future to look forward to." Raymond walked toward the door in a daze. His legs felt like they weren't quite connected to his body. His heart was racing so fast he thought it might burst. He paused at the door and turned back. "Mr. Jordan? Can I ask you one question?" "Of course." "Why me? You must have employees with problems. People who need help. Why did you do this for my family?" Michael was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "Because you never asked before. Because when you finally did ask, it wasn't for yourself. It was for someone you love more than anything in the world. You did it because I saw my father in you, and I saw myself in Sophia. Because sometimes, Ray, the universe puts people in our path so we can be the miracle they need." He smiled. "And because 7 years ago, you drove me safely through the worst snowstorm Charlotte had seen in decades, and you never once complained or asked for a bonus. A man who shows that kind of character in small moments deserves help in big ones." Raymond remembered that storm. February 2019. 6 inches of snow and ice on the roads. Michael had been insistent about getting to his daughter's school event. Raymond had driven at 15 miles per hour, white-knuckled and terrified, but he'd gotten Michael there safely. He'd never thought Michael had even noticed. "Thank you," Raymond said one final time. Then he walked out of the conference room, down the hallway of greatness, past Jennifer's desk and into the elevator. The moment the elevator doors closed, Raymond collapsed against the wall. He laughed and cried at the same time, his body shaking with relief so profound it was almost painful. Sophia was going to be okay. His daughter was going to walk again. She was going to dance again. And Raymond Torres, a man who had spent his entire life working hard and expecting nothing, had just received everything. The elevator descended toward the parking garage. Raymond pulled out his phone with trembling hands and called Clara. She answered on the first ring. "Raymond, what happened? I've been sitting by the phone all morning. Tell me." "Pack a bag for Sophia," Raymond interrupted, his voice breaking with joy. "We're taking her to Baltimore next Tuesday. She's getting the surgery, the best surgeon in the country. I'm and Clara, we don't have to pay anything. Not a single dollar. Michael is covering everything." Silence on the other end. Then Clara's voice, barely a whisper. "What?" "He's paying for everything. The surgery, the recovery, our expenses for 6 months. Everything. Sophia is going to be okay, Clara. Our baby is going to be okay." Clara started crying. Raymond could hear her sobbing through the phone, and he was crying too, standing in an empty elevator in a parking garage, having the most important conversation of his life. "I need to tell her," Clara said through her tears. "I need to tell Sophia right now." "Wait for me. I'm coming home. I want to see her face when she hears." "Hurry, Raymond. Hurry home." The elevator doors opened. Raymond practically ran to his car. Once his hands shook so badly he dropped his keys twice before getting the door unlocked. He drove home faster than he should have, his mind racing. How would Sophia react? Would she believe it? Would she cry? Would she be scared about the surgery or relieved that it was finally happening? He pulled into the driveway of their small house on Elm Street. Clara was already at the door, waiting. Her face was streaked with tears, but she was smiling. Really smiling, for the first time in 6 months. Raymond ran to her, and they held each other in the doorway. Two people who had carried an impossible weight for so long they'd forgotten what it felt like to stand up straight. "Is she awake?" Raymond asked. "She's in her room. I told her you had news. She's nervous." Hand in hand, they walked down the hallway to Sophia's door. Raymond knocked gently. "Mija, can we come in?" "Yes." They opened the door. Sophia was sitting on her bed, propped up on pillows like always. Her eyes were red. She'd been crying. She looked terrified. "Dad, just tell me. Whatever Mr. Jordan said, just tell me. I can handle it." Raymond crossed the room and knelt beside his daughter's bed. Clara sat on the other side, taking Sophia's hand. "Mr. Jordan said yes," Raymond told her. "He said yes to everything." Sophia stared at her father, her mouth slightly open. "What do you mean, everything?" "I mean he's paying for your surgery. The whole thing. And not just the surgery in Philadelphia, there's a better surgeon in Baltimore at Johns Hopkins Hospital. You have a consultation next Tuesday." Sophia's hands flew to her mouth. "Dad, that's more money. But we can't ask him to—" "We didn't ask," Clara interrupted gently. "He offered. He's covering everything, Sophia. The surgery, the hospital, the recovery. He even set up a fund to cover our living expenses for 6 months so we can be with you during recovery." "No." Sophia shook her head. "No, that's too much. Nobody does that." "Dad, what did you promise him? What do we have to give back?" Raymond took both of Sophia's hands in his. "Nothing, Mija. We don't owe him anything. He's doing this because he wants to. Because he believes in you. Because he knows you deserve this chance." The tears came then, huge, gasping sobs that shook Sophia's entire body. Raymond and Clara wrapped their arms around their daughter, and the three of them cried together. But this time, they weren't tears of fear or desperation. They were tears of hope. The consultation in Baltimore happened exactly as Dr. Webb had promised. He met the Torres family at Johns Hopkins Hospital and personally introduced them to Dr. Richard Okonkwo, a tall, soft-spoken Nigerian man with kind eyes and confident hands. Dr. Okonkwo examined Sophia thoroughly, reviewed every scan, asked detailed questions about her pain levels and mobility. After 2 hours of testing, he smiled. "Miss Torres, I can help you. The surgery will take approximately 4 hours. Recovery will be challenging. I won't lie to you about that. But if you commit to the physical therapy, if you work hard, I see no reason why you won't dance again." Sophia burst into tears right there in the examination room. Clara held her while she cried. Raymond stood against the wall, overwhelmed by gratitude so profound it felt like it might crush him. And the surgery was scheduled for 3 weeks later. Those 3 weeks moved in strange time, simultaneously racing forward and crawling by. Raymond took a leave of absence from work. Michael insisted on it, told him that family came first. Clara reduced her hours at the hospital. They spent every possible moment with Sophia. The night before the surgery, Raymond couldn't sleep. He lay in bed at the hotel near Johns Hopkins, staring at the ceiling, praying to a God he'd never been quite sure about but desperately needed to believe in now. At 2 a.m., he gave up trying to sleep and walked to Sophia's room. She was awake too, sitting by the window, looking out at the Baltimore skyline. "Can't sleep either?" Raymond asked softly. Sophia shook her head. "I'm scared, Dad." He sat beside her. "Me too. What if something goes wrong? What if I wake up and it's worse? What if—" "Then we deal with it," Raymond said firmly. "But Sophia, you have the best surgeon in the country. You have your mother and me. You have Dr. Webb checking on you. And you have your own strength. You've already survived 6 months of this pain. You're the bravest person I know." Sophia leaned her head on his shoulder. "I keep thinking about Mr. Jordan, about why he did this for us. We're nobody special, Dad. Why would he care?" "We're not nobody," Raymond said. "We're people who work hard and love each other. That's special. And maybe Mr. Jordan saw something in our family that reminded him of his own. Maybe he saw a chance to make a difference, and he took it." "I want to thank him," Sophia whispered. "When this is over, when I can walk again, I want to thank him properly." "You will, Mija, and you will." The surgery began at 7 a.m. Raymond and Clara sat in the waiting room with Dr. Webb, who had flown to Baltimore specifically to be there for the operation. 4 hours, Dr. Okonkwo had said. 4 hours that felt like 4 years. At hour 2, Raymond's phone buzzed. A text message from Michael Jordan. "Thinking of you and Sophia today. She's in good hands. Stay strong." Raymond showed the text to Clara. She wiped her eyes and squeezed his hand tighter. At hour 3, Dr. Webb bought them coffee from the cafeteria. Neither Raymond nor Clara could drink it. It sat cooling in their hands while they stared at the surgical board, watching Sophia's status. In surgery. At hour 4, Raymond started pacing, back and forth across the waiting room floor. 17 steps one way, 17 steps back. He counted them over and over, using the numbers to keep his mind from imagining worst-case scenarios. At hour 5, Dr. Okonkwo finally emerged. He was still wearing his surgical scrubs, his mask pulled down around his neck. Raymond and Clara stood so fast they almost knocked over their chairs. Dr. Okonkwo smiled. That smile was everything. "The surgery went perfectly," he said. "Sophia did beautifully. The spinal compression has been relieved, and I was able to repair the damaged nerve tissue. She's in recovery now. She'll be groggy for a few hours, but you can see her soon." Clara collapsed into Raymond's arms. Dr. Webb clapped Raymond on the back, and Raymond Torres, a man who had spent 3 weeks oscillating between hope and terror, finally allowed himself to believe that everything was going to be okay. Sophia woke up slowly, then her eyes fluttering open in the dim recovery room. The first thing she saw was her father's face. "Hey, Mija," Raymond whispered, his hand wrapped around hers. "You did it. You made it through." "Does it hurt?" Sophia's voice was scratchy from the breathing tube. The pain medication is handling it, but Sophia, Dr. Okonkwo said the surgery was perfect. He said you're going to walk again. Sophia's eyes filled with tears. Really? Really? Clara appeared on Sophia's other side, kissing her daughter's forehead. We're so proud of you, baby. So proud. The first week of recovery was hard. Sophia was in pain despite the medication. She couldn't move without help. Simple things like sitting up or shifting position required nurses and careful maneuvering. She cried from frustration and discomfort. But by week 2, something changed, and physical therapy started. Sophia's therapist, a woman named Lynn with strong hands and an encouraging voice, worked with her every day. Small movements at first, flexing her toes, bending her knee, lifting her leg an inch off the bed. You're doing great, Lynn said during their 4th session. Your nerve response is excellent. Dr. Okonkwo did beautiful work. By the end of week 2, Sophia sat up on her own for the first time. Raymond and Clara were there, watching through the window of the physical therapy room. When Sophia managed to stay upright without support, Clara grabbed Raymond's arm so hard she left marks. Week 3 brought the biggest milestone yet. Today, we're going to try standing, Lynn announced. Sophia looked terrified. Already? Your body is ready, trust me. Trust yourself. Lynn positioned the walker, and another therapist stood on Sophia's other side for support. Raymond and Clara watched from their usual spot by the window, hands clasped together so tightly their knuckles were white. Lynn counted down. 3, 2, 1. Sophia pushed herself up. Her legs shook, her face contorted with effort and pain. But she rose inch by inch until she was standing. Standing! For the first time in 6 months, Sophia Torres was standing on her own 2 feet. She lasted only 15 seconds before her legs gave out, and the therapist helped her back into the wheelchair. But those 15 seconds were everything. Raymond and Clara ran into the room. Sophia was crying and laughing at the same time. Did you see? Did you see me stand? We saw, baby, Clara sobbed. We saw everything. That night, Raymond called Michael to give him an update. She stood today, Raymond said, his voice thick with emotion. For 15 seconds, she stood. Mr. Jordan, she's going to make it. She's really going to make it. I never doubted it, Michael replied. That girl has fight in her, just like her father. I don't know how we'll ever repay you. Ray, you keep saying that, and I keep telling you, there's nothing to repay. Seeing Sophia recover, hearing the joy in your voice right now, that's all I need. When we get back to Charlotte, I want you to meet her. Properly, I mean. She talks about you all the time. She wants to thank you herself. I'd like that, Michael said. Tell Sophia I'm proud of her. Raymond hung up and returned to Sophia's hospital room. She was sitting up in bed, something she could do easily now, looking at her phone. Was that Mr. Jordan? She asked. Yeah, he says he's proud of you. Sophia's eyes glistened with fresh tears. Dad, I've been thinking, when I get better, when I can dance again, I want to do something. Something meaningful. To honor what he did for us. What do you have in mind? I want to expand my volunteer program at the community center. I want to create scholarships for kids who can't afford dance lessons. I want to help other people the way Mr. Jordan helped me. Raymond smiled. He'd love that. Actually, he mentioned something similar. He wants to set up a scholarship in your name. Sophia's jaw dropped. What? Dad, no, I can't let him. He already decided. When you're ready, you'll help run it. You'll choose the recipients. You'll make sure the money goes to kids who really need it. Sophia covered her face with her hands. This is too much. All of this is too much. Maybe, Raymond agreed. Or maybe it's exactly what's supposed to happen when good people get the help they deserve. 4 weeks after surgery, Sophia took her first steps with the walker. 5 steps before her legs tired, but 5 steps more than she'd taken in half a year. 6 weeks after surgery, she walked 20 feet down the hospital corridor. Raymond recorded it on his phone, tears streaming down his face the entire time. 8 weeks after surgery, Sophia was discharged from Johns Hopkins. Dr. Okonkwo gave her strict instructions about continuing physical therapy in Charlotte, about taking things slowly, about not pushing too hard, too fast. But before they left, he pulled Sophia aside. "Miss Torres, in my 30 years of practice, I've seen many patients. Some give up, some just go through the motions. But you fought for every inch of progress. Your recovery has been exceptional. I want you to know that. Thank you, Dr. Okonkwo, for everything." He smiled. "I expect to see a video of you dancing within 6 months. Don't disappoint me." "I won't," Sophia promised. The drive back to Charlotte felt different than the drive to Baltimore had felt 8 weeks earlier. Then they'd been traveling toward uncertainty. Now they were traveling toward a future that actually existed. As they crossed the North Carolina state line, Sophia spoke from the back seat. "Dad, when we get home, can we call Mr. Jordan? I want to see him. I want to thank him in person." Raymond met his daughter's eyes in the rearview mirror. I think he'd like that very much. What Raymond didn't know, what none of them knew yet, was that Michael Jordan had one more surprise waiting for them. One final gift that would leave Raymond in tears all over again. Sophia's first week back in Charlotte was a blur of routine and recovery. Physical therapy 3 times a week at a facility near their home. Careful exercises in the living room every morning. Small victories celebrated. Walking to the mailbox without the walker. Standing for 5 minutes while washing dishes. Climbing the 3 steps to their front porch without help. But through it all, Sophia kept asking about Michael Jordan. "When can we see him, Dad? When can I thank him?" Raymond had texted Michael several times, but Michael's responses were brief. "Glad Sophia's home. Let her rest. We'll meet soon." Raymond assumed he was busy. The man ran a business empire after all. But there was something in the tone of the messages that felt different, almost secretive. 2 weeks after they returned home, Raymond's phone rang. It was Michael's assistant, Jennifer. "Mr. Torres, Mr. Jordan would like to invite you and your family to his office this Saturday at 2 p.m. He has something he'd like to show Sophia." "Of course," Raymond said immediately. "We'll be there." Saturday arrived cool and clear, the kind of perfect October afternoon that made Charlotte feel like the best place on earth. Sophia dressed carefully in a simple blue dress, moving slowly but steadily. She'd progressed to a cane now, only using it for longer distances. "I'm so nervous," Sophia said as they drove to Jordan's office. "What do I say to someone who gave me my life back?" "You say thank you," Clara replied from the passenger seat. "And you speak from your heart. That's all anyone can do." They arrived at the office building at 1:55 p.m. Raymond helped Sophia out of the car, more out of habit than necessity now, and they rode the elevator to the executive floor. Jennifer greeted them with a warm smile. "The Torres family, it's so wonderful to meet you, Sophia. Mr. Jordan has told me so much about you." Sophia blushed. "He has?" "Oh yes, he's been tracking your recovery closely. He's very proud of your progress." Jennifer gestured down the hallway. "He's waiting for you, but not in the conference room this time. Follow me." She led them past the conference rooms, past Michael's office, to a door at the end of the hallway that Raymond had never noticed before. Jennifer opened it to reveal a private lounge. Comfortable couches, warm lighting, and floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. But it was the people in the room that made Sophia gasp. Michael Jordan stood near the window, smiling. And next to him were 2 women Sophia recognized instantly from photographs on her bedroom wall. "Oh my God," Sophia whispered, her hand flying to her mouth. Misty Copeland, the principal dancer with American Ballet Theater, walked forward with a radiant smile. Next to her was Debbie Allen, the legendary choreographer, dancer, director, and founder of the Debbie Allen Dance Academy. "Sophia," Michael said, gesturing her forward, "I want you to meet some friends of mine who heard about your story." Sophia couldn't move. Her legs, which had worked so well all morning, suddenly felt frozen. Clara gently touched her back, encouraging her forward. Misty Copeland reached Sophia first and took both her hands. "Hi, Sophia. It's so good to meet you. Michael told us about your journey, about your surgery, about how you've been teaching kids at the community center even while you were in pain. I can't believe..." Sophia couldn't form a complete sentence. Debbie Allen laughed warmly. "Take your time, sweetheart. We're not going anywhere." "You're my heroes," Sophia finally managed. "I've watched you my entire life. I learned to dance by watching your videos, Ms. Allen. And, Ms. Copeland, your performance in Swan Lake changed my life. I watched it when I was 12 and decided that's what I wanted to do forever." Misty's eyes grew moist. "That means everything to me. Michael said you're incredibly talented. And he said you teach kids who can't afford lessons. That's beautiful work, Sophia. That's what dance should be. Accessible to everyone, not just people with money." Debbie Allen nodded. "I started my academy for exactly that reason, to give opportunities to young dancers who might not get them otherwise. When Michael called and told me about you, about what you've been through and what you're doing for your community, I knew I wanted to meet you." Sophia looked at her father, tears streaming down her face. Raymond was crying too. So was Clara. Even Jennifer, standing by the door, was wiping her eyes. "I don't understand," Sophia said. "Why are you here? Why would you want to meet me?" Michael stepped forward. "Because you're special, Sophia. Not just because you can dance, though Dr. Webb tells me you're going to dance again very soon, but because of who you are. Because you think about others. Because even when you were suffering, you kept teaching those kids at the community center until you physically couldn't anymore." He gestured to Misty and Debbie. "I told these ladies about you, and they wanted to be here today because of what I'm about to tell you." Michael pulled out a folder, the same way he had during that first meeting months ago. But this time, his expression was warm, almost mischievous. "Sophia, your father told me that you had to defer your scholarship to UNC's Performing Arts program, that there's a chance it won't be there when you're ready to go back to school." Sophia nodded, her throat too tight to speak. "Well, I've established an endowment at UNC in your name. It will guarantee your scholarship no matter when you're ready to start. Whether that's next semester or 2 years from now, your education is secured." Sophia's knees buckled slightly. Clara steadied her. "Mr. Jordan, I don't know what to say." "I'm not finished," Michael said gently. "The endowment will also fund full scholarships for 5 other students every year. Students facing medical challenges, financial hardships, or other obstacles that might prevent them from pursuing dance. You'll help choose the recipients when you're ready. You'll help decide whose dreams get a chance." Sophia was sobbing now. Raymond moved to her side, his arm around her shoulders, holding her up as she processed what she was hearing. "But that's not why Misty and Debbie are here," Michael continued. Debbie Allen stepped forward. "Sophia, when you're fully recovered, when your doctors clear you for full activity, I want to invite you to visit the Debbie Allen Dance Academy in Los Angeles. I want to see you dance. Michael tells me you're special, and I believe him. I'd like to offer you a summer intensive program. Full scholarship, room and board included." Sophia's legs actually did give out then. She sank onto the nearby couch, her hands covering her face, her whole body shaking with sobs. Misty Copeland sat next to her. "And I'd like to invite you to New York to watch a performance at ABT Backstage Passes. You can meet the company, see how we work, maybe even take a class with us if you're interested." Clara had given up trying to hold back her own tears. She stood next to Raymond, both of them watching their daughter receive opportunities they'd never dreamed possible. Raymond looked at Michael, mouthing the words, "Thank you," over and over, unable to speak them aloud. But Michael wasn't done yet. He walked over to Sophia and knelt down in front of her so they were at eye level. He waited patiently until she lowered her hands and looked at him through her tears. "Sophia, there's one more thing, and this is the part that matters most to me." Sophia wiped her eyes, trying to compose herself enough to listen. Michael's voice grew softer, more personal. I lost my father in 1993. His name was James Jordan. He was my biggest supporter, my inspiration, my hero. He worked 3 jobs when I was growing up to make sure my siblings and I had opportunities. He believed in me when I was just a kid with a dream. Michael paused, his own eyes glistening. I never got to fully thank him. He died before I could tell him how much his sacrifices meant, before I could show him that everything he did for me mattered. Sophia was perfectly still, listening. When your father came to me and asked for help, when he told me about you, it reminded me of my dad. It reminded me of what real love looks like, what real sacrifice looks like. Michael's voice broke slightly. I didn't do all this just to be charitable, Sophia. I did it because you and your father showed me something I needed to see. You reminded me of why my father worked so hard, why he sacrificed, why family matters more than anything else. He reached out and took Sophia's hand. I can't thank my father anymore, but I can honor his memory by helping families like yours, by making sure daughters like you get the chances you deserve, by making sure fathers like Raymond don't have to choose between their child's dreams and their family's survival. Michael stood and turned to Raymond. Ray, come here. Raymond walked over, his vision blurred with tears. Ray, watching you fight for Sophia, seeing your love and dedication, it healed something in me. It reminded me of what my father taught me, that real wealth isn't measured in money or championships or fame. It's measured in how you show up for the people you love. Michael extended his hand, and when Raymond took it, Michael pulled him into an embrace. Thank you, Ray, Michael said quietly, his voice thick with emotion. Thank you for being the kind of father that makes the world better. Thank you for raising a daughter like Sophia. Thank you for reminding me what really matters. And thank you for giving me the chance to honor my father's memory by helping your family. Raymond was sobbing openly now, his arms around this legendary man, this icon, this person who had shown him a level of compassion and humanity that transcended anything he'd thought possible. I don't know how to thank you, Raymond managed to say through his tears. You gave me back my daughter's future. You saved our family. You already thanked me, Michael replied, his own voice breaking. By being exactly who you are, by loving your daughter the way my father loved me, by never giving up on her dreams. Sophia stood up, stronger now, steadier, and joined the embrace. The 3 of them stood there together, connected by something more powerful than gratitude or generosity, connected by the simple, profound recognition that we're all just people trying to love each other the best way we know how. Misty and Debbie moved closer, their own faces wet with tears. Clara joined the group, then Jennifer. And for a moment, in that room overlooking Charlotte, a circle of people who'd been strangers just months ago stood together as something more. A family bound not by blood but by compassion, by second chances, by the belief that we all deserve someone to fight for us the way Raymond fought for Sophia, the way Michael's father once fought for him. When they finally separated, everyone was crying and laughing at the same time. Debbie Allen pulled tissues from her purse and passed them around. Misty took selfies with Sophia, who still looked like she couldn't quite believe any of this was real. Micah, I want to spend my life doing this, Sophia said suddenly, looking around at everyone in the room. I want to help people the way you've helped me, Mr. Jordan. I want to give other people hope. Michael smiled. You already do, Sophia. Every time you teach those kids at the community center, every time you show up despite the pain, every time you choose kindness and generosity, even when you have every reason to be bitter or angry, you're already changing the world. He pulled out one more piece of paper, the last surprise. This is the scholarship fund we're establishing in your name. It's called the Sophia Torres Rising Scholarship. It will provide full dance education funding for young people facing medical, financial, or personal obstacles. You'll serve on the selection committee when you're ready. You'll help decide whose dreams get a chance. Sophia took the paper with trembling hands. She read it once, twice, 3 times. Then she looked up at Michael with an expression of pure wonder. "You're naming it after me?" "You earned it by being brave, by being kind, by showing us all what it means to rise up when life tries to keep you down." Sophia walked over to Michael, no cane, just her own 2 feet, stronger every day, and hugged him. "Thank you for believing in me. Thank you for seeing me. Thank you for giving me my life back." "Thank you for reminding me why any of this matters," Michael replied. The meeting lasted another hour. Misty and Debbie exchanged contact information with Sophia, making real plans for her visits to Los Angeles and New York. They talked about dance, about recovery, about the future, while Jennifer took photos that Sophia would treasure forever. Finally, as the afternoon sun painted the city in shades of gold, it was time to leave. At the door, Michael pulled Raymond aside one last time. "Same time Monday morning?" Michael asked. Raymond smiled through his tears. "I'll be there, Mr. Jordan. Wouldn't want to be anywhere else." "Good, because you're not just my driver, Ray. You're my friend, and I'm honored to know you and your family." They shook hands one final time. Then the Torres family left, walking down the hallway together, Raymond, Clara, and Sophia, toward a future that had seemed impossible just months before. The small theater in Charlotte's Arts District was packed beyond capacity. People stood along the walls and sat in the aisles. The fire marshal had probably been called, but nobody cared. Tonight was special. And tonight, Sophia Torres would dance again for the first time since her surgery. Raymond sat in the front row, his hands gripping the armrests so tightly his knuckles were white. Clara sat beside him, holding a bouquet of roses they'd bought that afternoon. And next to Clara, wearing a simple baseball cap, pulled low to avoid attention, sat Michael Jordan. "Nervous?" Michael asked Raymond, quietly. "Terrified," Raymond admitted. "What if she's not ready? What if the pain comes back? What if—" "Ray." Michael's voice was gentle but firm. "Look around this room. Look at all these people who came to support her. Your daughter is ready. Trust her." Raymond took a deep breath and nodded. Michael was right. Sophia had worked so hard for this moment. 5 months of intensive physical therapy, 6 months of gradually returning to dance training, and countless hours of stretching, strengthening, and slowly rebuilding what the injury had taken away. Dr. Okonkwo had cleared her for full activity 3 months ago. Lynn, her physical therapist, had cried with joy at their final session. Even Dr. Webb had flown to Charlotte to watch one of Sophia's rehearsals and declared her recovery nothing short of miraculous. But still, Raymond worried. He was her father. Worrying was his job. The lights dimmed. The crowd fell silent. Raymond's heart hammered in his chest. A single spotlight illuminated the stage. And then Sophia appeared. She wore a simple white dress that seemed to glow in the light. Her hair was pulled back, her face serene and focused. She stood in the center of the stage, perfectly still, gathering herself. The music began, a haunting piano melody that Sophia had chosen herself. The piece was called Rise Again, and she had choreographed every movement. Sophia lifted her arms slowly, gracefully. Then she began to move. Raymond stopped breathing. His daughter, his Sophia, who had spent 6 months unable to walk without crying, who had lain in a hospital bed wondering if she'd ever dance again, was dancing. Really dancing. Not tentative or careful, not holding back or protecting herself. She was dancing with the full power and grace and beauty that Raymond remembered from before the injury. Every movement told a story. Her body became the music itself. The piece began low to the ground, Sophia moving through contractions that suggested pain, struggle, darkness. Raymond recognized it. This was Sophia's injury translated into movement. This was the 6 months of suffering transformed into art. Then the music swelled. Anne and Sophia rose. She extended her legs, reached her arms toward the ceiling, and spun. A perfect, controlled turn that made the audience gasp. Clara grabbed Raymond's hand. They were both crying. Sophia moved across the stage with increasing power and confidence. Leaps that showed the strength she'd rebuilt. Turns that demonstrated her recovered balance. Extensions that proved her flexibility had returned. Every movement was a declaration. I survived. I healed. I'm here. The choreography built toward a climax. Sophia performed a series of challenging sequences. Quick footwork, dramatic port de bras, a beautiful arabesque that she held for what seemed like forever. Then, for the finale, she executed a leap, a grand jeté that carried her through the air like she had wings. Raymond's heart soared with her. Sophia landed perfectly, held the final pose as the music ended, then slowly lowered her arms. The theater exploded with applause. People jumped to their feet, cheering and crying. Raymond and Clara stood clapping so hard their hands hurt. Michael stood too, wiping his eyes beneath his baseball cap. Sophia stood in the spotlight, tears streaming down her face, taking in the standing ovation. She found her parents in the front row and pressed her hand to her heart. "I love you," she mouthed. Raymond couldn't speak past the lump in his throat. He just nodded, tears flowing freely. When the applause finally died down enough for people to hear, Sophia spoke into the microphone that had been placed at the edge of the stage. "Thank you all for coming tonight. This performance is called Rise Again, and it's about my journey this past year. Yeah, about falling down and finding the strength to get back up." She paused, composing herself. "But I didn't get back up alone. I had help. I had my parents who never stopped fighting for me. I had doctors and therapists who believed in my recovery. And I had someone very special who gave me a second chance when I thought all my chances were gone." Sophia looked directly at Michael. "Mr. Jordan, would you please stand up?" Michael hesitated, then rose to his feet. A ripple of recognition went through the crowd as people realized who was sitting in the front row. "This man saved my life," Sophia said simply. "He didn't have to. He didn't know me. But he saw my father's love and my family's struggle, and he decided to help. He paid for my surgery. He supported my recovery. He believed in me when I didn't believe in myself." Her voice broke with emotion. "Mr. Jordan, you gave me back my dreams. You gave me back my future. This dance tonight, every step, every turn, every moment, exists because of your kindness and generosity. Thank you for teaching me that miracles are real, and that they often come in the form of people who choose compassion over indifference." The audience erupted in applause again, this time directed at Michael. He nodded acknowledgement, clearly moved, then sat back down. Sophia continued, "Tonight is also special for another reason. I'm proud to announce the official launch of the Sophia Torres Rising Scholarship. This fund will provide full dance education for 5 young people every year. Young people facing medical challenges, financial hardships, or other obstacles that might prevent them from pursuing their dreams." She smiled through her tears. "Because I learned this year that we all need someone to believe in us. We all need someone to fight for us. And now it's my turn to be that person for others." More applause. Raymond was openly sobbing now, as was Clara. They'd raised an extraordinary human being, and they'd never been more proud. "I want to dedicate tonight's performance to 3 people," Sophia said. "To my father, Raymond Torres, who taught me that love means never giving up. To my mother, Clara Torres, who showed me that strength comes in quiet, steady forms. And to James Jordan, a man I never met but whose legacy of sacrifice and love made my recovery possible." She looked at Michael again. "Your father would be so proud of you, Mr. Jordan. I hope you know that." Michael nodded, no longer trying to hide the tears on his face. Sophia bowed deeply to the audience. "Thank you all, from the bottom of my heart. Thank you." After the performance, Sophia's dressing room filled with well-wishers. Her students from the community center came with handmade cards and flowers. Friends from her old dance classes came with hugs and congratulations. Even strangers came, people who'd heard her story and wanted to tell her she inspired them. But the moment Sophia treasured most came later, when the crowds had cleared and only family remained. Raymond, Clara, and Michael stood with Sophia in the now empty theater. The stage lights were dim, the seats vacant, the applause just a memory. "How do you feel?" Raymond asked his daughter. Sophia smiled, a real, genuine, joy-filled smile. "Like I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. Like everything that happened, all the pain, all the fear, all the struggle, led me here, to this moment, to this understanding of how precious it all is." She turned to Michael. "I used to think the injury was the worst thing that could happen to me, that it ruined my life. But now I see it differently. It taught me what matters. It showed me how much love my parents have for me. It brought you into our lives. It gave me purpose beyond just dancing for myself." "That's a beautiful way to see it," Michael said. "Though I'm sorry you had to go through so much pain to get here." "The pain made me stronger," Sophia replied, "and it taught me empathy. Every student I work with now, every scholarship recipient we choose, I'll understand their struggles. I'll know what it's like to have dreams that seem impossible. And I'll be able to tell them truthfully that impossible doesn't mean never. It just means not yet." Michael smiled. "You're wise beyond your years, Sophia." "I had good teachers." She looked at her parents, then back at Michael. "All of you." Raymond put his arm around his daughter. "We should let Mr. Jordan get home. It's late." "Actually," Michael said, "there's one more thing. I've been waiting for the right moment to tell you." Sophia looked at him curiously. "What is it?" Michael pulled out his phone and showed them a video. "This came in yesterday. It's from the first recipient of the Sophia Torres Rising Scholarship. Her name is Maya Chen. She's 16, from a low-income family in Durham. She was diagnosed with scoliosis last year and couldn't afford the treatment or the dance training she needed." He pressed play. On the screen, a young Asian girl appeared. She was standing in a dance studio, smiling shyly at the camera. "Hi, Sophia. My name is Maya. I just found out I received your scholarship and I can't stop crying. I thought I'd have to give up dance forever. My family couldn't afford my medical bills and training. But because of you, because of what you went through and how you turned your pain into purpose, I get to keep dancing. I get to chase my dream." Maya's eyes filled with tears. "Thank you for not giving up. Thank you for fighting through your recovery. Thank you for creating the scholarship. You changed my life, and I promise I'll work hard and make you proud. And someday when I'm able, I'll help someone else the way you helped me." The video ended. The dressing room was silent. Sophia was crying again, but these were different tears. These were tears of fulfillment, of purpose, of understanding that her suffering had meaning beyond herself. "That's why it all mattered," Michael said softly. "Your injury, your recovery, everything we went through together, it led to this. To Maya getting her chance. To 4 other young people getting their chances this year. To dozens more in the years to come." He looked at Raymond. "Your father's love for you created a ripple effect, Ray. You loved Sophia enough to ask for help. That love inspired me to act. That action gave Sophia her future back. And now Sophia's future is creating futures for others. That's how change happens. And that's how we heal the world. One act of compassion at a time." Raymond looked at his daughter, at his wife, at this man who had become so much more than an employer. He thought about that day in the parking garage 11 months ago when he'd stood with shaking hands and asked for help. He'd been so ashamed then, so afraid. Now he understood what Michael had been trying to tell him all along. There was no shame in asking for help. There was only love extending itself through human hands across impossible distances, creating connections that changed everything. "Thank you," Raymond said, though the words felt inadequate. "For all of it, for seeing us, for caring, for teaching us that kindness isn't weakness. It's the most powerful force in the world." Michael shook his head. "You taught me that, Ray. You and Sophia and Clara. I just had the resources to help. You had the courage to ask, and Sophia had the strength to heal. That's what made the difference." Sophia walked over to Michael and hugged him one more time. I'm going to make you proud. I'm going to help so many people. I'm going to spend the rest of my life being the kind of person who lifts others up the way you lifted me. You already do, Michael assured her, and I'm already proud. They left the theater together, walking out into the cool Charlotte night. The city lights sparkled around them, and somewhere in the distance, church bells chimed midnight. A new day was beginning, a day full of possibility and purpose and the quiet satisfaction that comes from knowing you've made a difference in the world. Raymond looked up at the stars and thought about James Jordan, and the man he'd never met but felt connected to through his son's generosity. He hoped James could see this somehow, could see how his sacrifices had echoed forward through time, creating ripples of kindness that touched lives he'd never know. Thank you, Raymond whispered to the night sky. Thank you for raising a son who remembered what you taught him. Thank you for showing him that love is the only thing that really matters. The stars twinkled back, offering no answers but somehow conveying understanding. In the parking lot, Michael shook Raymond's hand one final time. See you Monday morning, Ray? Raymond smiled. I'll be there, Mr. Jordan. I'll always be there. Good, because I wouldn't want to take this journey with anyone else. Michael drove away in his own car. He'd insisted on driving himself tonight so the Torres family could celebrate together. Raymond watched the taillights disappear into the night, then turned to his wife and daughter. Let's go home, he said. Sophia took his hand on one side. Clara took his hand on the other. And together the three of them walked toward their car, toward their modest home on Elm Street, toward a future that was brighter than any of them had dared to imagine 1 year ago. Behind them, the theater stood dark and quiet, holding the echoes of Sophia's performance in its walls. Tomorrow, the story of her comeback would spread through the community. People would talk about the girl who couldn't walk, who learned to dance again, who turned her suffering into scholarships, who proved that with enough love and support, anything is possible. But tonight belonged to family, to the quiet joy of a father who saved his daughter, to a daughter who saved herself, to a mother who held them both together, and to a man who remembered his own father's love and chose to pass it forward. In the end, that's what miracles really are. Not supernatural interventions or impossible coincidences. Just people choosing love over fear, choosing generosity over indifference, choosing to believe that we all deserve someone to fight for us. And sometimes, if we're very lucky, we get to be the miracle in someone else's story. The way Michael Jordan became the miracle in theirs. The Sophia Torres Rising Scholarship had grown beyond anyone's expectations. What started as funding for 5 students per year had expanded to 25. The scholarship had expanded beyond dance to include all performing arts, music, theater, visual arts, any young person with talent and dreams, but not enough money to pursue them. Sophia had graduated from UNC with honors. She'd spent summers at the Debbie Allen Dance Academy and performed with Misty Copeland in New York. But she always came back to Charlotte, to the East Side Community Center, to the kids who needed her most. She now ran a full dance academy there, funded partially by the scholarship program and partially by Michael's continued support. Every Saturday, 50 kids from low-income families learned dance for free. And every year, at least 3 of Sophia's students received college scholarships to continue their training. Raymond still drove for Michael Jordan. Not because he had to. Michael had offered him other positions with higher pay. But because he wanted to. Because some relationships transcend job descriptions. Clara had reduced her hours at the hospital to help Sophia with the academy's administrative work. She managed the scholarship applications, coordinated with donors, and made sure every penny was spent wisely. And Michael? He attended every one of Sophia's major performances. He spoke at scholarship award ceremonies. He became not just a donor, but a mentor, a friend, and an honorary member of the Torres family. The scholarship had helped hundreds of young people by its 5th year. Dancers like Maya Chen, who was now studying at Juilliard. Musicians who'd gotten full rides to conservatories. Artists whose work was being shown in galleries. our theater students who were performing on Broadway. Each of them carried forward the lessons Sophia had learned, that we all need someone to believe in us, and that we all have a responsibility to pass that belief forward to others. On the 5th anniversary of Sophia's surgery, the Torres family and Michael Jordan sat together in Sophia's office at the dance academy. On the wall were photographs of every scholarship recipient, a visual reminder of what one act of compassion could create. "Sometimes I still can't believe this is real," Sophia said, looking at the photos. "That my worst nightmare turned into this." "It's real," Michael assured her. "And it's only the beginning. Imagine what this will look like in 10 years. In 20. The number of lives changed because your father loved you enough to ask for help." Raymond, now 57 with more gray hair but the same kind eyes, smiled. "Because you were kind enough to say yes." "Because Sophia was strong enough to heal," Clara added. "Because James Jordan taught his son what really matters," Sophia concluded. They sat in comfortable silence, these 4 people bound together by crisis and compassion, looking at the evidence of what they'd built together. Outside, the sounds of children laughing and dancing drifted through the window. Maya Chen was teaching a class now, passing forward what she'd been given. Other scholarship recipients volunteered too, creating a cycle of generosity that seemed to have no end. "Thank you," Raymond said to Michael, as he had said countless times over the past 5 years. "For everything." And Michael, as he always did, smiled and replied, "Thank you for letting me be part of your family's story. Thank you for reminding me why any of this matters." Because in the end, that's what they'd given each other. Not just medical bills paid or surgeries funded or scholarships created, they'd given each other purpose, meaning, connection. The understanding that we're all in this together and that the greatest wealth we can accumulate is the love we share and the lives we touch. And somewhere, perhaps, James Jordan looked down at his son and smiled, proud of the man he'd become. Proud of the lesson that had taken root and bloomed into something beautiful. The lesson that love, when given freely and received gratefully, has the power to change the world. One family at a time, one act of kindness at a time, one miracle at a time. 5 years later, the Sophia Torres Rising Scholarship has helped hundreds of young people chase their dreams. Raymond still drives for Michael Jordan, not because he has to, but because some friendships go beyond job titles. Sophia runs her own dance academy, teaching kids for free every Saturday. And Maya Chen, the first scholarship recipient, is now studying at Juilliard, ready to pass the kindness forward. This story shows us that miracles aren't magic. They're people choosing compassion over indifference. They're fathers who love their children more than their pride. They're legends who remember where they came from and reach back to help others climb up. So tell us, where are you watching this from? Drop your city and country in the comments below. We'd love to know how far this message of hope and kindness is traveling around the world. If this story touched your heart, hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. By subscribing, you're helping us spread more stories of kindness and inspiration to people who need them. Because in a world that can feel dark sometimes, we all need reminders that good people still exist. And don't go anywhere yet. Click on the video appearing on your screen right now for another incredible true story that will restore your faith in humanity. Remember, we all need someone to believe in us, and sometimes we get to be that someone for another person. Choose kindness. Always choose kindness.